What is good, Niner fans? How we feeling? Friday. You guys excited? It's Friday afternoon. Some people are excited because they get the weekend off. Some people aren't because they work on the weekend. I don't know. But it's Friday. Friday's always like a good day. How's everybody doing? What are we up to? Let's talk about what's in the news, right? There's been some news today about the 49ers. Coaching news, front office news, former player news. You guys saw the De'Vondre Campbell tweets today. This man absolutely crashed out. He crashed out. He's talking a bunch of nonsense. We're going to talk about that guy. We can vent. You know what? Today's a good day to just trash on De'Vondre Campbell. If you guys want to, in the comments, you say what you got to say. Guy's a clown. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the combine that's coming up and every other little piece of information that's been out there. So how are we feeling? Happy Friday to everybody. My man Rick G says De'Vondre is a buster. Yeah. Raymond says Staley, he gone. Yeah, he is gone. Brandon Staley. I think that's a good point to start. Let's start right there. Brandon Staley, 49ers, former assistant coach. Their former assistant coach, former Chargers head coach, former Rams defensive coordinator. Brandon Staley is officially being hired as the defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Woo, he gone. Good luck to that. The Saints, man, they got a new head coach, Kellen Moore, who I think he could be a good coach, right? He was a good coordinator. His defensive coordinator is Brandon Staley. I mean, he might be a decent defensive coach. He was a good defensive coordinator when he was with the Rams, but I mean, what did he do with the Niners last year? He held Nick Sorensen's hand as the assistant coach, and I feel like he didn't really do anything. But hey, it is what it is. The Saints are down bad. Listen to the Saints, man. Their situation is extremely bad. Let me tell you something. The Saints right now have minus $47.2 million in cap space projected in 2025. Minus $47.2 million. You got a new head coach, Kellen Moore, which I'm sure there's optimism, but his defensive coordinator is Brandon Staley. To me, that doesn't spark a lot of excitement. If I'm a team, a franchise, a fan of a team, and I'm like, damn, they got a guy that the 49ers didn't want. You're minus $47 million in cap space. They are in hell, in cap hell. They're going to be a bad team. I mean, it's an easy division, the NFC South. So maybe they have a chance, but yeah, they've really ruined that team. It's going to take them a long time to kind of recover. But yeah, Brandon Staley, he gone. Say it with me. He gone. That man is gone. You know, it was speculation over the last couple of weeks that he will be, fired from the team or let go mutually, whatever the case is. And today it was basically that he found a job elsewhere. And it doesn't matter because Robert Saleh is bringing in his own people. His assistant is Gus Bradley from the Colts. He hired Ray Brown as the DB coach. He brought in Brant Boyer as a special teams coach. The 49ers have had a massive facelift in their coaching department and front office for that matter too. So good stuff, man. Good stuff to see. And, it's not, I feel like the 49ers have really had a strong offseason, not just with hiring Robert Saleh, but they've gotten rid of coaches that I feel like didn't help them. And if you're going to bring in a new defense coordinator, you let him bring in the people that he wants, that he's associated with, so he can build the defense that he wants. And that's what the Niners did. They got rid of Schneider. They got rid of Sorensen. They got rid of Staley. And I feel like those three coaches really didn't help the Niners get into a winning vibe, right? The culture wasn't great with those guys. Now, I know they might be talented. Maybe they can turn it around wherever they're at, right? Sorensen with the Cowboys. Schneider, where did he go? I forget where Brian Schneider went. And then, obviously, Brandon Staley now with the Saints. Brian Schneider, where did Schneider go? He got hired somewhere. He's the assistant special teams coordinator. I want to say the Commanders, right? Is that where he went? Let me double check. I think it was the Commanders. Brian Schneider. I want to say the Commanders. Yeah, Commanders. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. He was hired as the assistant special teams coach for the Commanders. So good luck to all of those guys. Wish you well, whatever. I'm glad you're not on my team. Sayonara. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. So that was news for today in terms of the coaching staff. Now, there was also some news with the front office, right? Front office staff was potentially going to lose a scout, the director of player scouting here, Josh Williams, the director of scouting, Josh Williams, will remain with the 49ers as the Jaguars are hiring James Gladstone as their new general manager. So this was, a pretty extensive coach, a general manager search for the Jaguars, right? They hired Liam Cohen as their head coach, and then they fired Trent Baalke in that whole situation that helped the 49ers get Robert Saleh back. And then they went on a big hiring interview journey with all their candidates. They had like 5 candidates in order to hire a general manager. They had to get it right because you had Trent Baalke, and he was a very piss poor general manager. We knew about him as 49er fans because he was the GM for the 49ers, and it was terrible. So Josh Williams had 2 interviews, just like several other candidates, and he did not get the job today. I'm sure that he will become a general manager at some point. I think this was a good opportunity for Josh Williams, but they went with James Gladstone as their GM, and it looks like the 49ers will keep Josh Williams at least for another year. Again, he has been a talent scout and a director of scouting for several years with the 49ers. He's going to stick around, and this is a guy that, John Lynch gets to keep around on his staff, and I think he's an important guy. You don't want to just – it would have been – I feel like it would have been very hard to fix or replicate or turn around or replace. I feel like it would have been hard to replace a guy like this who's been on the 49ers front office for a long time, right before the NFL Combine. The NFL Combine is next week, and if they would have had to replace this guy that close to the Combine, I think it really would have hurt the 49ers in terms of their scouting and everything. And I think this was, the best case for the 49ers. I think this guy will possibly become a GM down the line, Josh Williams. At some point, I think he will be a GM, and I feel like the 49ers will eventually get some comp picks out of him. He seems like a really good talent scout. He seems like he knows his way around the front office. So I'm looking up his biography here. Josh Williams is now in his 14th season with the 49ers, and first as director. So this was the first year he was the director of scouting and football operations. He spent the previous 2 seasons, 2022 and 2023, as a national scout after 5 years from 2017 to 2021 as an area scout. In 2016, Williams was the team's national football scouting representative. In his current role, Williams directs pro and college scouting efforts, supports player development, and assists in contract negotiations. This guy is a very important part of the 49ers front office. So now that was from 2024. He's going to be in his 15th season with the 49ers, a very long time. He's been with them now since 2010. So that's crazy. 15 years. If they would have got rid of this guy, that's a big time part of this front office that they would have had to replace. I think, people don't realize how important this guy really was. I know we get comp picks and everybody's like, oh, get the comp picks. Cool. It's 15 years of work and dedication for the 49ers. And again, right before the Combine, it would have been absolutely crazy to replace a guy like this who does all of that, which we just listed for scouting. So I think this was a big W for the 49ers in retaining Josh Williams, at least for another year. I think down the line, again, he will probably become a general manager at some point. So, Williams helped us with hidden gems. Rick says it was a win-win either way. Debbie's throwing up at the name of Trent Baalke. So Rick says no additional picks for us, but at least we retain a key part of scouting upcoming. Yeah, so that's why he says it's a win-win. Yeah, of course. I think we all would have loved to have extra picks, but I think the big picture is we kept the guy that's really key in scouting. And if you all, again, I think the biggest thing is this happening this close to the Combine would have been a big, big loss. And I think next year, if he becomes a GM, hopefully it's sooner before the Combine, right? I hope it's sooner rather than later because he seems like he's going to be a nice candidate for years to come now. And maybe he'll get his opportunity because last year was the first year as the director. So he played, he was in the front office for a long time, like we just saw. And then they finally, gave him that promotion to the director. So he's going up the charts. He's going up the charts in terms of, the 49ers front office. So good news, good stuff. Good for him. I like to see that we kept him and now we get to focus on the Combine. And speaking of the Combine, there's some news, some logistical news here for the Combine. We all know John Lynch will be at the Combine as he always is. And now we have his schedule. in terms of what he's going to be able to do in terms of speaking to the media. John Lynch is expected to be at the NFL Combine, and he will speak at the NFL Combine on Wednesday. He will speak to the media Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, Wednesday, February 26th, according to an announcement from the NFL. So General Manager John Lynch is slated to speak. This is going to be his first appearance since the end of the season press conference in early January. So we get to hear a lot from him. He's going to talk about the draft process, maybe some free agents, maybe Brock Purdy. He'll give us some good news. We need to hear some updates from General Manager John Lynch, President John Lynch in the next couple of weeks. We need to hear it. Free agency's around the corner. The draft's around the corner. We need to hear some updates, and it'll be nice because we haven't heard from him since the end of the season press conference in January. So this will be nice. Now, a little plot twist from yesterday's news and updates. We all thought Kyle Shanahan was coming to the Combine, which he never usually, he doesn't always go to the Combine. And guess what? This year, he's not expected to go to the Combine. Yesterday, Matt Barrows and Tim Kawakami, they said they're going to have John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan at the Combine. Well, guess what? Kyle Shanahan must have heard. He must have saw the reports. And he says, oh, yeah, Raj, I ain't coming. I'm not going to be there. Remember the Magic Johnson meme? I'm not going to be there because John Lynch will be there. And it was expected that Kyle Shanahan was going to be at the NFL Combine. They got the 11th pick. This is great news. Surely you're, embedded in the 49ers and the draft, Kyle, and you want to be there to make sure you scout all these talents. Well, it appears, according to Matt Mayoko, that, that's not the case. Kyle Shanahan will not be speaking or attending the NFL Combine next week. Again, this comes after Matt Barrows reported on the Tim Kawakami podcast that Kyle is likely to attend the Combine yesterday. A little bit of a 180 there, Kyle. Why? Just go to the Combine, my guy. Unbelievable. I wish Kyle would have came to the Combine, but it appears that he's not going to. He changed his mind, maybe, or maybe he never was. But according to yesterday's reports, he was. And now Matt Mayoko says he's not. So which one is it, Kyle? I hope he throws a curveball and shows up. I hope he just wants us not to break his news. I hope he's just like, look, I don't want Raj to put my news out there. Or Matt Mayoko, or Matt Barrows, or whoever for that matter. I want to work on maybe Kyle will pull up. Pull up, Kyle. You got nothing better to do. Go to the Combine. Go to the Combine. Debbie says maybe he never was. Maybe he never was. It's speculation, and I fell for the smoke. I was excited. I thought Kyle Shanahan was going to be at this NFL Combine. I guess not. So there's that update. Moving forward, let's talk. This is the big story of the day. Spend some time talking about it. Talk about this guy. I honestly, I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't even want to give this guy attention. I almost didn't post this today, but of course it was a big story, and of course I got it. You got to post it on your page. I saw it this morning, and I was like, oh, this guy's spiraling. This guy has CTE. He must have been dropped on his head. This guy is an absolute clown. And here it is. Former 49ers. I don't even want to consider him a 49er. I wish that he didn't even suit up in the red and gold, but he did. Former 49ers linebacker De'Vondre Campbell was on Twitter this morning, and he absolutely just went off on critics, on players, on teammates, and fans, everybody. He was just in his Twitter just going crazy. You guys saw it. I'm not going to say everything he said because he said some pretty nasty stuff, some expletives. And he said some words I probably shouldn't say, but he says, this is what he said. Somebody said, the Seth Floyd show tweeted at him, and he says, you can't even address the situation because you can't defend yourself, man. There's no excuse quitting on your team, especially mid-game. He says, fans and the rest of the league will never get that image out of their head of you walking to the locker room while your teammates were playing still, right? And he says, I ain't addressing shit. I'm rich and never have to work another day of my life. I told Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch that they FaceTime me and begged me to come out there an hour after Green Bay cut me. Really be sparing. I play because I want to. This guy said that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were begging him. They were begging him to come to the team after the Green Bay Packers cut him last year. He was begged on FaceTime. They were begging him. He says Kyle was FaceTime. Please, De'Vondre Campbell. This man, the only reason they wanted him was because Dre Greenlaw, right? He had the Achilles injury, and then Eric Kendricks flipped the 180 on him, the team, and the 49ers were like, well, we need a linebacker. Here we go. FaceTime De'Vondre. Can you please come? He's making it sound like he's making it sound like he's the main character, that he is him, right? He's crazy. And then he says they get mad when they can't successfully troll you. I'm real. You can't get under my skin. My life is great. I get on here, say whatever I want. I log off and go on with my day while y'all sit here mad. With that being said, I hope everyone has a great Friday. And then he went on and on and on and on. And he says, look, I'm sick and tired of all you bees jumping under my tweets. It's been 2 months, and I have yet to address the situation because I know the truth. This guy went on and on and on. And he's talking about how he's right. He knows the truth. The fans don't know what he's talking about. He's real. He doesn't need to defend himself because he did nothing wrong. Are you kidding? This guy is unbelievably stupid. Clown behavior. De'Vondre Campbell is the dumbest guy out there. He must have CTE like to the extreme, worse than Antonio Brown. Let's listen. This guy was probably the worst signing the 49ers ever signed in free agency. One of the worst. This guy is absolutely a dog trash player. I mean, I can't believe it. If I ever saw this guy, I'd talk trash to him. He might beat me up. He might kick my ass, but I don't care. I would say something to him, and it would be worth whatever happened to me because this guy is he's just a clown, man. I can't believe it. Oh, man, that dude's a bum. Fans should continue to boo this man until he's 70. Campbell wants all the smoke. He's a big clown. His feelings are hurt. These are all the comments. I love it. He says he's definitely not planning to continue dragging this. He just dragged it out. Well, who wants him? Yeah, who wants him now? Well, if there was any team that might have wanted you a couple of weeks ago, maybe if there was a shred of hope that a team would have wanted your quitter self on their team, you can kiss it goodbye because you are definitely not playing the NFL. If this man suits up for one more team in the NFL, I will be shocked. And that team will have to be the dumbest team of all time. I couldn't believe. I was so repulsed. I was so disgusted when I saw those comments today on Twitter. I was like, are you kidding? Is this man real? Is this real life? Are you sitting here defending yourself and trolling fans? And he says, oh, you guys are mad. He's the one getting mad at people tweeting at him. I rest my case. I don't even want to talk about that anymore. Makes my blood boil. De'Vondre Campbell, what a loser. What an idiot. And, it sucks because he does have a lot of money now. And he's probably sitting there laughing like, ha, I cashed all these checks and now I don't need to work. I hope he loses all his money. I hope he has some crazy issue that he has to. I hope he becomes broke within a year or two. Like, I really do. He doesn't deserve all the money that he got in this league. What an absolute horrible guy. That's it. Bottom line. He thinks he's the man. Alex says, man, what a loser. What a loser. He sounds like some of the politicians. Who wants him now? CTE. Campbell has CTE. Yeah, he probably did. He probably does have CTE, but I could not believe this man was literally tweeting that stuff. Can you believe it? Huh? Unbelievable. Well, that was that. So De'Vondre Campbell, he absolutely cried. He spiraled, crashed out, spiraled. And that was the big topic of the day. I literally couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I said, am I reading this right? When he says, I'm not addressing shit, I'm rich and never have to work another day in my life. Like, that is the most asinine statement that I've ever heard. That a pro football player, a pro athlete sat there and says, I'm rich and I never have to work another day of my life. That right there, that tells you all you need to know about this man. I ain't addressing shit. I'm rich and never have to work another day of my life. What? That's absolutely crazy that he said something like that. It's so crazy. To me, that's the craziest statement I've ever heard a pro athlete say. I couldn't believe it. Unbelievable. Quit on your team. And it's 2 months. It happened like 2.5 months ago. And you're still thinking you're in the right. Just apologize and move on. What a guy. That's the big news for today. So that was pretty much all your updates. And the PFF, they dropped their top 101 players. The 49ers had several players to make this list. I don't know how you feel about this. These top lists, it is what it is. Rankings, people get upset about the players. I do feel like De'Vondre Lenore should have been on this list. He didn't make this list. I think he definitely was a top 101 player. You had George Kittle at number 13. Nick Bosa was 35. Fred Warner, 57. Weird to see him that low. But, he did play through an injury. First half of the season was amazing. Second half, he did play a little ho-hum, but 57 to me seems low for Fred Warner. He still was the best linebacker in the NFL, despite the injury. Trent Williams, 98. PFF loves Trent Williams, so, of course, they found a way to keep him on here. I honestly don't think Trent Williams should have been on the list. I think they should have put De'Vondre Lenore. But I think Trent Williams makes it because of the respect that PFF and everybody has, the media has for Trent Williams. Dominic Pooney was number 100. Good for him, man. Good for Dominic Pooney. He was the only rookie offensive lineman to make this list, I believe. Heck of a guy. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Third-round pick, Dom Pooney, was an absolute steal of draft pick. So, shout out to those 49ers that made it. George Kittle, man, number 13. It seems low for George Kittle. Like the season he had over 1,100 yards. The guy was a dog. Best tight end in the league, man. Absolutely best tight end in the league. But, Demo, he'll be on a list next year. He'll be all-pro. He'll be top 100 something because you're right, Rick. He does keep receipts. And I think that De'Vondre Lenore gets a lot of disrespect, man. People say, oh, he's not that good. Why are they paying? I don't know why people just don't respect De'Vondre Lenore. You look at the stats. The stats are better than most of the cornerbacks. He doesn't allow a lot of catches on his side. He doesn't allow much touchdowns. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's a good tackler. I feel like he makes big plays when he needs to. I think he's a really good cornerback. I think he's going to be a top-flight cornerback in this league. He continues to get better every year, and I just feel like people don't understand who De'Vondre Lenore. They're still sleeping on the guy, but next season I feel like he'll be really, really hungry to prove himself. He tweeted the other day that he's got to get back to work and, a lot to prove, et cetera, et cetera. So I like Lenore. I like his mindset. I think he's becoming a young leader in this clubhouse, and I think the sky's the limit for Lenore, and I think he's going to become a really, really outstanding corner outside on the outside. I think he's just really blossomed these last 2 years. And, he's very versatile. He can play inside. He can play outside. That's what I love about him, man. He really doesn't complain. He goes out there and does his job. But, I think when you look at these lists, you could always find one or two players that you're like, how did he not make it? Or why was he that low? But, I definitely think Lenore on the 49ers definitely should be on the top 101 players in the league. To me, he was top 3 cornerback this year, but I might be a little biased. Let's take a look at some of these questions before we bounce out. Alex says, Pooney is a savage. He absolutely is. Debbie says, I love Kittle. I think we all do. Kittle is the man, and I hope he retires as a Niner, which he wants. Ryan says, Pooney's the best right guard in the NFL. He's going to be there one day. I think if he continues to play like he did that rookie season, he could be the best right guard in the NFL. Guy's an absolute star. Supreme says, Campbell should have been on the list. I don't think so. Raymond says, Lenore will get recognized more after the Mooney loss. I think that's a good take right there. I believe once Mooney's gone and there's more spotlight on Lenore and he's the guy, I think people will recognize him more. I think that's a fantastic take right there. My man Alex says, you think we're keeping Hufanga? I don't think we're keeping Hufanga. I think he gone. If I had to make a prediction, I think Talanoa Hufanga, he gone. Lenore reminds me of Jimmy Ward, says Claudia. You know what? He's very versatile. And I think he took a lot of mentorship. I think he took a lot of advice from Jimmy Ward, but because he does. He talks a lot, just like Jimmy. He talks a lot of trash on the field. He backs it up. He's a scrappy-ass player. Like, he's one of those players where you're like, okay, yeah, De'Vondre Lenore's going to strap it up. He's going to go to war for his players, and he can play inside, outside. He can play it all, just like Jimmy, man. Jimmy, they put him in the slot. They put him on the outside. He says, I wanted to play safety. They threw him at safety. He did a little bit of everything. He was a master DB, man. So I can see that. I can see that. He does have a little Jimmy Ward vibe to him. Ryan says, what's your big-time 49ers prediction, signing, trade, cut, etc.? I think they'll get Drew Dahlman. I think they'll sign Drew Dahlman, center of the Falcons, free agent. I think they'll bring him along. That's their big free agent signing. I think they'll be I think they'll also get a big defensive lineman in free agency. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think they'll get an interior D lineman like, DJ Jones or Buckner. I don't know, somebody of that caliber, because they're going to be getting rid of Javon Hargrave, and I don't think Javon Hargrave is going to want to come back for a cheap price. I think some other team will sign him up. So I think they'll find a good defensive tackle in free agency. So who we got at 11? I don't know, Raymond. Hopefully, offensive tackle is going to be there. Hopefully, a really top flight guy like Will Campbell. But again, some of the top flight offensive tackles are probably going to be off the board there. Just best player available. Maybe it's going to be a defensive lineman there too. So just stack the trenches. That's what I want. Dahlman is a stud. I'd love to have him. Yeah, me too, Raymond. Bring the boys back, Buck and DJ. Yeah, it'd be pretty sweet. Supreme says Pooney should move to left tackle when Trent retires. I don't know. I don't know if he can play that left tackle spot. Not that he's not good, but just, right now he's focusing in on that guard. It's a tough transition, but if he can do it and he plays at a high level still, I mean, I'm all for it, because at some point you need to figure out who the heck is going to replace Trent Williams at that left tackle spot. Maybe they draft his replacement this year. Maybe they get, like I said, like a Will Campbell type guy, somebody that's at the upper echelon of the tackle, pecking order in the draft. And then you can maybe move him to left tackle, or, maybe you start him at right in his rookie year, move him to left if he can make that transition. So I don't know who it's going to be, but they definitely need to make sure they figure out who the heck's going to replace Trent Williams. He's a tough player to replace. He's going to be Hall of Famer, probably first ballot Hall of Famer, I would assume. He's probably one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history, probably the best lineman in the last decade or two. 49ers were blessed to have they went from Joe Staley to Trent Williams. Like, there's really no fall off right there. It was probably a little step above, Joe Staley to Trent Williams. They're both two absolutely unbelievable left tackles, two of the best, tackles in the last 2 decades. And for them to have gone from Joe Staley to Trent Williams, it's a little unfair. It's like when the Packers went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, right? Or you go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. Unfortunately, he got hurt, but it's like that caliber of a transition. It's like, oh my God, you went from one Hall of Fame caliber player to another Hall of Fame caliber player to replace him. Doesn't always happen that way. So it's going to be hard to replace Trent Williams. You go from, can you imagine Joe Staley, Trent Williams, and like Tristan Wirfs? I'm just throwing a name out there. Like that type of transition at left tackle would be amazing. So Kelvin Banks is going to be a stud and a half. Yeah, I think so too. If we can get Kelvin Banks, oh my smokes. Debbie says, what about the Michigan curse? Yeah, a lot of people are saying don't draft Michigan players. I know Will Johnson's a guy that possibly could land up on the 49ers. He's one of the best cornerbacks coming out of college this year. Really good out of Michigan. If you look at the draft history for the 49ers with Michigan lately, it's not that good track record, right? Ronnie Bell, Jake Moody, a.k.a. Voldemort, he who should not be named. And then you have, who else? Ambry Thomas. Pretty bad track record recently with the Michigan guys. So maybe they don't want to trade. Maybe they don't want to draft Will Johnson if you look at the recent track record of Michigan players. I don't know. I'd feel I'd be a little nervous. I'd get a little PTSD if I was going to draft a Michigan player myself. So Joe Montana to Steve Young, says Julius. Yeah, exactly. Montana to Young. Now, what a hell of a transition, right? So that's a good transition there, Julius. Michigan curse applies to players to the 3rd round picks and after. Let's see. Jake Moody, 3rd round. Ambry Thomas, 3rd round. And then Ronnie Bell, 7th round. Well, maybe if they draft them after that 3rd round and after, it probably, knowing the Niners, it will extend into that 1st round. I don't know. It's scary. But then there's also Mason Graham, who's a dog, and he's a great defensive tackle. Maybe you don't want to draft him either because Michigan curse. Maybe the 49ers should just never draft Michigan players. Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, a lot of people are a little scared if they draft Will Johnson. Like, will he become a bust? So, time will tell. Time will tell. Antonio says, do you think the Niners will add a big playmaker to the offense and defense? I don't know about the offense because they have a lot of playmakers. I think they know that Christian McCaffrey's back. Like, last year, they didn't add a big playmaker at midseason because that big playmaker was supposed to be Christian McCaffrey, and then he got hurt. He hurt the PCL. So I don't know if they're going to go and get like a big splashy guy on offense. Maybe they'll get some weapons in the draft, but they have Ricky Pearsall, or your year 2 should be better. Jacob Cowing should be better, right? You have George Kittle, who's amazing. You have Juwan Jennings. You have Christian McCaffrey coming back. Garendo should get better this year. So I don't know if they're going to get another weapon. I'm sure they're going to find some receiver, some veteran. I'm sure they're going to get a good running back in the draft, but I don't know if they'll make a big splash signing. Defense, though, I think they will get a playmaker on defense, whether it be defensive line or in the secondary. I really do see them improving that defense with the big-time playmaker. They need you can tell last year they lacked the playmaking ability in defense. They couldn't really force turnovers, and I think Robert Salah is going to help them get back to that, and they're going to need a playmaker on defense. On the edge would be fantastic. And then on offense, on the other side of the ball, I just think that they need to focus on the offensive line, and I think that they will, because so far, this offseason has gone exactly as it should. And if it continues, they should go and bolster this offensive line. So we'll see. Julia says, if you draft a Michigan player, make sure they are a first or second round prospect, not a third rounder later. Well, knowing like I said, knowing the 49ers, they'll turn that little theory around and make it. I just don't know if I want them to draft a first round Michigan player after all the piss poor players they've drafted the last couple of years, but maybe they could turn it around. So we'll see. Any case, that's pretty much it. Let's review real quick. Let's do a little recap of today's news. We will do a quick recap in case you're just tuning in, if you missed anything. So again, according to the NFL, John Lynch is expected to be at the NFL Combine next week, and he will talk to the media on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Brandon Staley is no longer with the 49ers. He is now the defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Good luck to them. Kyle Shanahan, he will not be attending the NFL Combine, which yesterday the report said he would be attending the NFL Combine, but he will not. He will stay home and watch the film or whatever he does at this time of the year. And Josh Williams, the 49ers director of scouting, will remain with the Niners, as he was not offered, or he was not hired as the Jaguars general manager, because they went with James Gladstone. So the 49ers will keep a long-standing member of their front office who is entering his 15th season. And maybe next year he becomes the defensive coordinator of another, or sorry, not defensive coordinator, general manager of another team. He'll get an opportunity, I'm sure, down the line. Good for him. I'm glad the Niners kept him, because this is a couple of days before the NFL Combine, and you don't want your director of scouting not to be there. And then, of course, last but surely not least, the biggest clown in the NFL, De'Vondre Campbell, crashed out, and he cried, and he says he does not care about this and that and blah, blah, blah. You know what? My last message to De'Vondre Campbell is go kiss my ass. I don't care about you. I hope that all the bad stuff that could happen to you happens to you. I hope you just lose all your money, De'Vondre Campbell. You're an idiot, and I wish you never played on the 49ers. But good luck with your future endeavors. And with that, you guys have a good rest of your day. Appreciate you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. If there's any more breaking news, we'll cover it. We'll be here. We'll talk. But you guys have a good rest of your day. Go Niners and go Warriors. Tonight, Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, they head to Sacramento. Let's see what happens. And, there's a lot of optimism in the Bay Area. So I need my Bay Area boys. I need the Warriors to keep this NBA season rolling. I hope they can make the playoffs, because right now, without football, it's a little bleak. We need some Bay Area love. We need some good stuff, and I need the Warriors to get a dub tonight. You guys have a good rest of your day. Go Niners. Peace.